go. Let's have the chat of our lifetime.
That actually sounds pretty good audio-wise.
I do what I can from this little place where I ripped apart my desk and brought it back together. You know what I mean?
That's true, you did.
I did.
And I think, Jordan, if it's within our scope of availability, I think we're going to try to upgrade my mic on Tuesday. And I'm just going to say it first for the first time.
I'm gone after Thursday morning, so make it happen. Just say, come over here.
So Tuesday might be good then.
Essentially.
Okay. I like that. So that way, guys, the people that are listening, especially on iTunes and Spotify.
We've had some people complain. It's fine. You know, we do what we can, guys. We're a small production here. So welcome back to Testing Normal.
The audio will get
111.
Welcome back to Testing Normal.
And my name's Jordan.
Buck 11. And my name's Curtis. About time. Amador, you're right. It is about time. We were chitty-chatting.
Yep.
We were
chatting about markets. It was interesting. You guys, we don't want to talk about that, though, because we might get in trouble for being financial advisors or something.
We are not financial advisors, but we can speculate. And that's okay.
Yep.
We can speculate. Dom, what's up, my brother? Oh, man, I miss your face. I think Dom actually was just in Hawaii, maybe? I think, is that right, Dom? I think he was, or maybe he's still there. I'm not sure. But it seems like a lot of people have been able to make Hawaii trips this year, and I'm getting a little jealous.
Good,
of this.
It works. I was just making sure with Dom's his comment that it works on our screen. So
comments?
Good. Thanks for letting us test with you, man.
Nice.
That's cool. Cool.
But then Amador, Jordan, you're going to go on a trip and spend some time with Amador, right?
I am going to be leaving at the end of this week to go there. I have some other things I'm doing that I'm not going to talk about on here for fear of spoiling things, but I will be at his house, I believe, on Saturday. That's when the party kicks off.
Cool.
And then I'm going to be at his wreck of a house that's in the middle of like many different like construction projects until Monday.
Right on. Good for him. Renovations. So he's doing like renovations in his house?
I think he has like a whole new kitchen. So something like that. Yeah.
Right on.
He's not building it.
That's awesome.
He doesn't do those things. He's very much admits it himself that he's not a carpenter or craftsman like yourself digging holes in your yard.
That's fair.
So.
Yes. Many holes. Yeah. So guys, so many crazy things have happened the
last 2 weeks, because we weren't here last week, remember? And we were saying like what's going to happen when we come back. And I got to be honest, I would have hoped amongst many things that this would not be the thing that we would come back to talk about. But here we are.
Yeah. Well, and everybody's seen the news. I'm sure we're referencing Afghanistan.
Yeah,
is that
I'm
what you're referencing?
I have many feelings.
Yeah. Okay, because there's a couple other topics I'm like, I think you're going to be okay with those. But
also, as a warning to everybody before we get too far, because my family is out of town, I don't think I actually said that, but they're not here with me tonight. That's why I'm here on a Sunday night. Usually we've kind of made it family nights and we do things. But because of that, there is a dog right over here. And if all of a sudden something starts barking, it's because he thinks something moved outside. So just avert your ears if that should happen, and I'll try to make him be quiet.
Yeah, sorry. But not that sorry, because it's okay. It's just a dog. If it barks, no big deal. But guys, so obviously we've all heard about the crazy situation going on in Afghanistan. There was a lot of reported U.S. citizens that were kind of left behind. This hits a little bit close to home because my sister, my older sister, and her husband lived in Afghanistan. Maybe I'm not totally sure. It was like 3 years or 5 years, and they've been back for like 5 years now. But they were bush pilots, and they flew supplies in and out of the mountains and built a lot of connections with a lot of other NGOs and other types of organizations there and people. And it's just heartbreaking for them to see the Taliban start to come in and push their oppressive manners on the population. Obviously, specifically speaking on the women population, right? Some of the biggest kind of civil rights and or persecution that's placed on individuals is the female population.
Sad.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, obviously, in any situation in any
Hmm.
country, right? It's never good to have an extremist wing control the country, and under threat of if you don't obey this regulation, you'll
Right.
be hung or shot in the head. Like that's basically as bad as it gets when it comes to extreme policies and or religious practices.
Well, and
Um,
obviously, I would like
so
to say, like, at the onset, like, there's lots of other countries that have regimes in place that we don't agree with either. And I feel like that's where people kind of get hung up on this. They're like, well, this was going on during Obama, it was going on during Trump, all that. And I just want to say from the onset, it's not about leaving Afghanistan because I was fully for that. It's about how we left. So as we talk about
mm,
this, like, that will be my focus, at least from my perspective, which I will admit is entirely small because I'm not there. I don't really have, neither one of us really have boots on the ground, like knowing people that are there right now going through this. We kind of see the same things
sure.
that other people do. And so I want to approach it from number one, I have a lot of friends that were there and this is really hard for them. So we want to admit, like, up front, like, there's some people that are having some feelings from that side of things, like having maybe wasted time, seeing friends that were lost. Was that a waste? And all that. But when it comes down to it, even amongst many of those are like, well, we needed to leave eventually, even if the Taliban took over. But it's not that we left. It's how we chose to leave, and that's how my approach will be to all of this as we discuss it.
Yeah, and it's not only how we a quick retreat is fine, but it's also the concept of, if you do that quick retreat, have you
Mm-hmm.
planned for it and have you facilitated transfer of individuals that you've made
Yeah.
promises to, right? And that's something I think a lot of us, it hits close to home, is these individuals that worked and died and had sacrificed for their
Mm-hmm.
families, the native Afghanis, and then they were left behind by the State Department, or
Well, and it's
whomever.
not even, it's, yes, there's
That's a
deals we
really,
made with them, but even beyond that is our own people. Like, yeah, you pulled the troops, but you didn't tell, you didn't give your people, like, fair warning or say, hey, you should probably, we suspect this is going to be dangerous. Probably should, we'll pull you out first and funnel those people out and then pull the troops. Like, that's where I'm saying, like, it's not what, it's how. And as you look at it, like, we stood up all these people. We trained these people to fight the way that we fought. And the way that we fight is we fight with a lot of air support. Well, we were their air support. So when we pulled, they don't have it. Of course, it's going to be hard for them to fight. They're fighting blind. We trained them to fight a certain way and then all of a sudden remove that ability. So to some degree, I'm like,
yeah.
why wouldn't you stand up and fight? And then to some degree, I'm like, it would be almost impossible. And you're,
Well, no, no, sorry. Were you going
no.
to say something else there? That's a really good point. And obviously throughout history, we've seen that the Afghanistan is a very difficult territory for any
Mm-hmm.
nation to control, right? Because it started, Great Britain tried to colonize it, and then Russia tried to kind of establish their rule there, and then the United States tried to set up a government there as well. None of these larger places have been able to do it. So I'm actually of the mindset, I would be surprised, honestly. I don't, you know, I don't know everything as far as geopolitical, insights go in Afghanistan, especially. But I would be shocked if the Taliban themselves are going to be able to fully control all of Afghanistan. There's a really interesting article that I read today, and there's actually been some pretty. It's called the Washington
Mm-hmm.
Examiner, and so there's been some pretty big changes in Afghanistan already, as far as Taliban rule. So just today we got information from, I don't know, his defense minister Bismillah
Mm-hmm.
Mohammadi.
We're trying our best
Basically,
here,
he was
guys.
one of, yeah. So he was from one of the northern provinces of Afghanistan, and he is part of a different sect of Afghani. So he's not Taliban, but he falls under. There's several actually different prominent groups within Afghanistan that aren't allied with the kind of the hard, strict rules of the religious rules of the Taliban. Um, and it's called the Panjshir group. Panjshir group. Um, And what's cool about it, though, they've already actually reclaimed and captured 2 provinces within Afghanistan, and fought off basically the Taliban individuals, and are kind of setting up control in northern parts of Afghanistan and other sectors. So it is. I do think, although obviously Kabul is like the main capital of the country and main focal center, I do think we'll see resistance within the country themselves and within the people choosing who they want to, like, how they want to set up their country. So I think, although I don't agree with any of the way we
Right.
pulled out, I do like to see that we're starting to see some resistance and the country choosing this is how we want to be ruled. And I think this is potentially a good start
I
here.
think eventually we would have. So there is some truth to both sides. I think that even Biden has said, like, well, this would have happened no matter what we did. I don't think he's wrong when he says that, like, at all. It's just a matter of the enemies that, no, I wouldn't say enemies, but like the people we rubbed the wrong way doing it the way that we did. I mean, honestly, we had a president who decided to not take, didn't take advice, just decided we're just going to do this. Didn't let the UK know, and so they suffered as a result of this. And that's like we kind of need them as an ally going forward, like for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So to make them upset in any way is and not bring them into it is really bad. But not to mention, the dude was on vacation and then went back on vacation. His press secretary was on vacation and isn't supposed to be back until today. Like, those are all things that are like extremely concerning for someone who's supposed to be like the commander in chief of the one of the most like powerful armies in the world.
Well, unless he's vacationing in the Middle East,
Maybe,
where he's
but he
actually able
wasn't
to see what's going on and
because
supporting
then
his
we
troops,
have
then
reports that he was
yeah,
like,
that's not
I'm really
very
tired, I'm
healthy.
not sleeping well, and they kept trying, and you could see it in his itinerary to fly him home, like he was going to go to Delaware and go and just sleep it off again. I'm like, what? You mean like how you campaigned? Like you can't do that now, buddy. You're in. Like you have to, like, regardless of how we like you or hate you, or do or don't, like, this is your job and you got to be there. Like you don't. This is not the time to vacation. This is the time where you stop vacations, right? It's like even if you and
Mm-hmm.
I at our jobs, if we had an emergency come up and we had a vacation plan and it was reasonable to rearrange and do those things, we would make those changes, right? And I have, like, and we're flexible in that, and that's not even my job's not going to get people killed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my job
Yeah.
doesn't fly me around to like take me to places. Otherwise, if I had that gig, man, I don't know if I'd ever go on vacation. Like, this is cool, like, so,
I guess what your definition of
right,
vacation too
yeah,
would be different if you were
I'd
at
be
that
having
level, right?
fun, like,
Um,
like,
but I guarantee I would be spending at least a couple weeks at Area 51
well,
personally.
we all know that's
But
where you would be
um,
first. Like, you're like, take me there.
I
I
would
want to fly in the
for
Tic
sure be
Tac
there.
now.
Pr-
Stat. Like,
Priorities, I would have priorities, don't get me wrong. Like, I would have to be some pretty strict policies on some of the eastern nations, but first and foremost I'd have to figure out what's going on in China, or in
yeah,
Area 51.
Amador has a good point.
um,
So, and this is where things don't go both ways, and I get it. Like, I've been guilty of this too. Is he says, wait, aren't these the same people who ripped Mr. Cruz apart when he went on vacation with his family while Texas was in chaos? Which he did, and then he flew back. And we talked about it on here. It's weird how it doesn't seem to work the other way. I would say to that, I don't feel like it works the same way both directions. I think that both sides on this one, being realistic, if Trump went on vacation, I would be like, dude, you shouldn't be going on vacation. I'd say the same thing about him as I would about Biden. I think the hard part
yes.
is we've got 8 months of what looks like just willy-nilly chaotic mess into it, and now we have this. We're like, shoot, what comes next? I mean, if we're already
Well, during a time of critical need and critical situations like this, it doesn't look great when your leader is
right,
not present, right? And that it doesn't matter when you're at this level. Vacations are trumped by
trumped.
demand, and this is a high time of need.
So
Ha.
no,
Um,
absolutely, and that's where I'm like, yeah, this is why this is a tough job. Like, if you're a CEO, you're kind of like never really on vacation, right? Like,
Not working.
you're
Yeah.
always, something is tied to that because you are an integral part of how it's working. So to go
Right.
and yeah, to just be not present. And if it's not looking good to us, and this goes back to what's more important, it's not necessarily making me happy, but if your number one job is to A, protect the rights of the people, and B, protect the safety of the people, regardless of how you feel about the original war, if this is where the people came from that hurt us, all of a sudden you create this giant mess by not doing things quite right. Even if it would have been a mess, it would have been less with less U.S. casualties, because those are truly U.S. and non-Afghani ones are really matter the most to the people that are trying to pull out, because that's who they have a responsibility to then, like, I don't know, it's a bigger
Well,
mess
what's
than
interesting, what's interesting too here is we have a multinational situation here. It's not just the United States and Afghanistan, right? So like recently there has been an announcement that Russia has been in talks and negotiations with the Taliban leading up to this point for
mm-hmm,
multiple months, and they're saying that, hey, we there was an announcement basically saying like the Russian embassy was having no difficulty moving their people in and out. They actually haven't evacuated anybody because they've kind of made diplomacy with the Taliban leading up to
right.
that because they knew that the U.S. was backing out. We've seen China is started to kind of move in to certain areas of Afghanistan, building roadways. I'm not sure if they're actually building roads, but there was something about some type of infrastructure that China was considering as far as resources in
Yeah, well, they're
Afghanistan as
sitting on
well.
like trillions of dollars worth of just resources in the ground that is big, and it's interesting that, as we've talked about China a lot recently, as soon as this happened and we didn't show force, and that's really what's kept these people at bay, and that's kind of what they just proved, was that Trump showing force but not actually acting on it, but saying I'm willing to do so, kept these things at bay for a long time. And we had no wars during his presidency, whether you like him or hate him. And you could say that's, it's thanks to Obama, whatever. We can play that game, but Obama had wars. And now China,
Well, no, technically we were at war during Trump's presidency still. If we in Afghanistan, there was still
there was
technically
stuff
that
going
war going
on,
on.
but it wasn't, no new wars were created, and he kept it where it was. But when we stop showing force and it's like, oh, now the U.S. is kind of being weak, to me it starts to mirror some things that we did wrong leading up to the World War I and II, where we stopped showing a force and got ourselves in trouble.
Okay. Well, so I'm glad you brought this up. I wanted to first of all I want to make this is going to be kind of a good segue here as far as getting ourselves in trouble. So, um, uh, I'm going to keep talking about the subject. I think most podcasts, just because I think it's good for us to have this in the back of our
I have a
mind.
comment of Gary's that's on
But
deck, by the way, that I do want to
oh yeah,
address. But you can
yeah,
keep going. No,
yeah,
keep
yeah.
going
Go
with
for
what
it.
you're doing, because I think
Okay.
it will segue.
Well, something kind of interesting recently, we've talked in the past how we need to like consider infrastructure and critical production, manufacturing being done in the United States. And recently, something actually I'm kind of glad that it got acted on. There was a Virginia-based defense contractor that just got sentenced because he was selling military goods. Like I think he sold like $7 or $10 million in military goods, and he labeled it as made in the United States, and he was selling it to the Defense Department or whomever, and they found out that actually no, they weren't made in the United States. All of this
Of
was made
course
in
it was.
China,
Like, we
and it's like
don't manufacture.
what?
So going back to the
Yeah.
China thing, we saw things, and I don't have any links to this right now. But you guys, you can go look it up. Um, that China's now like really targeting Taiwan, like more than they were before, and I believe it's because we didn't show us a
Mm.
force here. Like that's why it's important. People say like, well, why do you need that defense weapon? Like, I need it because I never want to use it. Like, why do we have an army? Well, we have it because we never want to use it, but it's there as like a stopgap, a failsafe. If it's not there, then we'll probably need it, and then we won't have it. Um, so like when people ask me like,
Hmm.
well, why do you have guns? We're like, well, some of it's for hunting, but I don't do a lot of hunting, and I'm very upfront. They're for self-protection. Like, I that's that's what they're there for. Like, oh, you don't need that gun because it's for killing people. Like, absolutely. Do I want to? Never, ever do I want to. But I, what if I need it? Like, and that's my choice to make in this country.
Well, it's also like maybe this is a terrible analogy. Probably a terrible analogy. Probably ridiculous.
Go
But
for it. I'll
if
tell
you
you.
have like if you have a
Mm-hmm.
library and you have a lot of books and you have books on how to repair a gas furnace, and you're like, well, you're never going to work on
Yeah.
your gas furnace. Why would you need that book? Well, it's still good to have that tool because
Yeah.
maybe you would need
But
that in
then
the
people are
future,
saying like, well,
Like
it's
that's maybe
dangerous because
not
we
the
know
same
you'll
level,
never
but
need it. Well, yeah, a lot of people have thought that. like, um, you know, so
yeah,
like,
that's true.
but because there's no show of force, now we have China kind of stepping it up a little bit more with Taiwan saying, Japan, if you get involved, will nuke you, and then it's looking scary. It's looking scary. I wouldn't be shocked if like a week from now, that's the next thing we're talking about, is China's deciding,
Well,
oh, well, Hong Kong's a done deal. Now we need Taiwan, and if you look, all their missiles and ships and everything are set up to do a takeover. Like
yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah, it's on the brink
and
there
that
with Taiwan. It really is. I mean, they've been doing the
China is
flyovers
like
and
in
everything.
support of
Yeah.
this Taliban rule. Well, why? Like that, you have to start asking yourself those questions. Are these things all connected? I believe they are, and maybe.
So here's something interesting about China. They have actually played their physical involvement in other countries to an actual surprising limited role when it comes to their
Mm-hmm,
military. As other than the South China Sea and their surrounding territories
right.
surrounding China, and of course, India, not Pakistan, India, Mongolia, those sort of
Mm-hmm.
regions there. Um, they actually haven't had that much of a physical presence outside of the South China Sea and some of the Pacific. Um, but it's their policy and then their economic aggressive moves
Right.
too, right? Um, and this is something that I want to give a huge shout out again to Australia. Um, it's in the Guardian article I
Episode.
have listed there. I want people to see it. This is an episode. I think that's a show too. I think the Guardian's probably a show. Also, Corky, I'm glad you were able to subscribe to that. Awesome, or you're following them. Love that you're doing that with the Washington. And then yes, Amador, you definitely can be part of my cabinet
he was
if
saying
I ever
mine
someday
because I
was
was going
able
to go on
to.
vacation all the time, but while
Oh, I
working.
thought he was saying he wanted to go to Area
Oh,
51 with
maybe,
me.
maybe he is.
Maybe, who knows? But so in this article, this is a really interesting article, guys. I want you to read this if you get an opportunity to. You'll find it in our links. So originally, Australia was trying to pass a bill that was going to prohibit trade with a certain region in China. It's called the Xinjiang region, and that's where a lot of the Uyghur
Mm.
Muslim population was being put into forced concentration labor camps. They're calling them Amador. Yes, Area 51. Love it, buddy. Um, the this region is where we have a lot of Uyghurs that are being in forced labor, essentially, right? And the China's calling them re-education camps, but basically they're forced
Really,
labor.
they're just sitting around concentrating,
And
guys. It's just like Germany.
lots of concentration. And but what Australia is doing, this is actually really glad they actually decided not to pass that original bill, and they decided to remake the bill because they were concerned that if they just had a bill that prohibited
Mm-hmm.
trade with this one specific region
They would just
of
move.
China, they would
Yeah.
just move the location of those individuals. Right, they'd find a way out of it. So Australia decided to change their entire policy, and now what they're doing is they're creating a new bill, and it has almost like unanimous approval. So once it looks like it's going to pass. But any and all trade is going to be prohibited if there's any possible forced labor with any country for that product. So basically, it's putting a big potential tariff, kind of, I guess not tariff, but trade embargo with China. And Australia is like, they're going
Mm-hmm.
deep. They're not backing down. China said, we will respond in kind. Their ambassador was warning Australia not to go in on these sanctions. And China's saying, listen, our people cannot be at peace knowing that they're using this item because someone else was in a
Mm.
slave labor. It's like, oh my God,
Well,
I
I've
have
often
so much
said
respect for Australia
that
right now.
the best way to war without like picking up a gun, and maybe it will lead to it, is to defund your enemy. So Make it,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's stair-stepped, get out of doing trade with the enemy. But first you need to identify the enemy, and that's one thing that, um, like there's not many things I agree with that Biden has done. There was like one or two, I can't remember. There was one thing. Oh, the freedom to fix thing. I love that. I think that's great. Or the right to repair is what they call. Freedom to fix. It sounds really like someone needs to patent or like trademark that. Freedom to fix sounds way better than right to repair.
Freedom to fix. That sounds amazing.
So, but people might take that the wrong way. They're like, oh, we can fix the markets now. But anyway, so is to take trade away. Start moving to other places and give them give them
Mm.
4 years, give them whatever, and then say, but also mining. Like we can't get anything from there. Like that's where we're headed, and deal with other countries or bring it home. Just like Elon has kind of preached, is that we need to do things
Mm-hmm.
in the locale that we're at, so that we're self dependent. I think that is
I wanna read a post here that kind of along that
which
line
one
there,
is it?
Jordan. That
Is
Amador
this the
mentioned.
comment that I can put up?
It's longer though, so I'm just gonna
It's
read it
up
so
on the
people can
screen.
hear it. Um, let's play the Walmart conspiracy. He says. It says they are backed by China in a huge economical move. Remember when Walmarts became a thing and their slogan was "We buy American whenever we can, so you can." Americans love Made in America. We allowed them to take over all over America, and now they sell more made in China than anything
It's
made
true.
in America. Um, it is true, and it's unfortunate because it's so convenient,
Mm-hmm.
right, for U.S. citizens to have access to cheap goods. And it's not only Walmart. I think we're seeing it, although it's not necessarily Amazon manufacturing a lot of these items. A lot of these items that we are getting on Amazon are typically
More and more and
manufactured
more
in
are just
China. You
direct,
know?
and but I think that would have a two fangled like effect, because some of what we're seeing right now
Mm.
is, and I make this joke, and I don't, not joke, but I make it towards the people that would fall into the Antifa camp. I know people that align with that. I don't agree with it, but as long as they're not doing anything illegal, that's their freedom. But they're not anti-fascist. They're anti-corporatists, and we all should be. And I think that oh, we just had a disconnect. I think I don't know if my internet was weird. It came back. Um, I just saw it drop, and
Yeah.
anyway, we'll see if it comes back up. We'll see what happens with people. We're recording, so is it would slow down Amazon taking over like Walmart has of the different areas. So it must
Oh
be
yeah,
a,
yeah.
a
That's
Facebook
true.
thing. So it
Yeah, I
would
think
slow down
Facebook
their
crashed on us, guys.
it would slow down their handle on things. Um, yeah. Anyway,
Well,
that's my take.
something yeah, sorry, we got some technical difficulties we're trying to fiddle faddle with a little bit here, but um, I'm gonna lead that into kind of an interesting transition a little bit here. Is um, did you have the opportunity this week at all to see the Tesla Day event, the
I
Tesla
didn't,
AI
but
Day?
before we get to that, because I really want to talk about that, I want to address the comment that Gary made real quick, because it dealt with what we were talking
Okay.
about before. So in talking
Mm-hmm.
about, so he was saying, be careful what you wish for. So his comment was, be careful what you wish for. Do you want the VP to step in? So I think that he kind of caught what my drift was. Is like, is our current president, is he fit? That's not my call to make. Um, I've thought from the beginning that he's got dementia. I've seen videos and seen how he was in the past, and I don't think he was ever a nice person, especially towards people of color. If you go back and look at historically how he's either voted and or said things to people, but he was really quick-witted, and you couldn't deny back then that he could hold his own in an argument and talking, and now he just can't. And so I think there's been at least a cognitive decline from where he was, and there's been a pretty measured cognitive decline even since he took office. With that said, I don't think we're at risk yet of our VP evoking the 25th Amendment and saying that he's not cognitively sound and taking over that office, because
That
and
would be
I
fascinating.
so I thought about this, and I was I started to follow. I follow a couple different people that do civics classes and stuff like that, and they go through constitutional law, what that would look like, and it's pretty straightforward. If they evoke it and Congress agrees, then it happens. Like it's pretty cut and dry. The one thing that is not cut and dry is there's no mandate for a VP to stay. So they are to appoint one, but there must be a majority vote in the House and the Senate to like confirm the appointment of the vice president. So unless they change something, that would be pretty hard to
Mm.
do. Her polls are worse, I believe, now than even Biden. So she's not liked amongst Washington, and they're pretty divided from like stuff that I read kind of behind the scenes from people that kind of catching sentiment. There's not a lot of agreeing going on there between them. And it was pretty obvious if you watched, just go back and watch the debates. They hated each other. Like, as much as
Right.
Biden
Yeah,
and
they did
Trump
not
hated
get
each
along
other,
well.
Harris and Biden, I would argue, hated each other even more. Like, and he was not nice. She was not nice. Like, there was things said that you don't really recover relationally from. So it was like pretty shocking that they put her in there. But say she tries to go in and pick someone, she's got to pick someone that a majority of people will vote for. And she's got to do that in the amount of time between now and 2022, because that looks like the scramble that they're doing right now is they see a turnaround in 2022 because she's the deciding vote in the Senate. So if all of a sudden the VP is out of the Senate, it's now 50-50 in the Senate. So there's
Oh, so
no,
like if she was the president, is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
because it was just this a couple weeks ago, Ted
But
Cruz
doesn't
showed
she have
up.
to appoint a VP then? If she becomes president, doesn't she
She
appoint a
does, but
VP?
they have to confirm them. So if she can't find someone that they will confirm, there won't be a vice president, at least for the time being.
Oh,
So,
fascinating.
and then they don't have that tie vote. And if they can find someone that would be in that slot that would vote the way that she would, they probably aren't going to get a confirmation. That's just these are all hypotheticals. I don't know. I just know looking and listening to people that I trust, that would be the holdup right now,
Hmm.
especially going into 2022 midterms where they look like, like for instance, a barometer if people want to go look it up. Joe Biden's old seat, he won by 25%. So he was a state senator before he became you know, up to the federal level. And that was just won over by a Republican by a considerable amount. And it is a very, very blue area. So if that's any indicator of what's coming up, and now we're about to see this recall election in California, people are kind of like sick and tired of that level of kind of wokeness to the left. And that they're like, well, I want something more in the middle, but there really isn't anything in the middle, so they're voting red. So what's going to happen in 2022? I think the writing's on the wall that there's at least going to be somewhat of a swing, and they won't have the votes they need in the Senate anymore pretty soon. So
Potentially,
I
yeah.
think that that's
Could
the hang
could.
up as far as it comes with the VP. I think he could be like napping all day long at his house in Delaware, and they're not gonna take him out of that seat because they lose their vote in the Senate. That's my take, but I could be
Mhm.
wrong too.
It's fascinating. Well, yeah, a lot of potential changes, a lot of potential crazy stuff. But remember, guys, if you get an opportunity to buy something not made in China, make that an active choice, if possible.
Try.
If
That's
possible. If
it's
possible. And if
difficult.
you ever see any legislation where you have the opportunity to vote on something that limits production of materials outside of the United States, encourage that if possible.
Yeah.
Um, on that point, transitioning over to U.S. production,
Yes.
Tesla. Tesla had a very interesting AI day, um, where they
I
had
missed
several
I missed
different
this,
kind
so I'm
of.
excited to hear about it.
Yeah, it was really, actually, I thought it was really cool. Um, they had several different kind of new updates, but one one thing about Tesla is, although they have transition and they do have a gigafactory in China that they're producing their own vehicles at as well. I do like that, um, majority of the stuff that Tesla produces for the United States is in the United States, right? So that provides us with a little bit of a made at home kind of situation there that I do like. But there's a couple interesting announcements. First of all, um, there was a change to their self-driving technology that they started talking about. Um, So um, they basically are upgrading their cars. They're upgrading their actual computer systems now, and they're going to be changing the self-driving software kind of to a degree, but it actually looks like they're actually upgrading the hardware too. It sounds like.
Oh wow. So
Um,
what happens to old cars?
well, they're saying the old cars are still going to work with their new software, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
going to be as advanced essentially. So they're saying like
Gotcha.
their current AI self-driving is they were saying like 300 times 2 to 300% better than a human driver at like response times to
Mm-hmm.
certain types of changes or environmental things. But they're saying with the new hardware software for their newer computers, they're saying that they predict as far as response times and capability of certain safety maneuvers up to 1,000 times faster than a human could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, I like it.
Now, yeah. The other thing that's kind of crazy about it is they're saying that the new Cybertruck, they're saying the new Cybertruck is supposed to come out with the new full self-driving capabilities.
Right.
Now,
Will it be
whether or not the
licensed
Cyber,
though? That's the thing. Like they have to get the ability to turn it on.
yes, exactly, exactly. And also, will the Cybertruck actually come out next year? There's kind of like I feel like Tesla is really good at making promises and eventually fulfilling them, but almost never on the time frame that they originally say. Um, but then,
Okay, Amador, hang on. Well, let's
what do you
let's talk
got? What do you
about
got?
technology for a second. So he says kind of like what
Okay.
Apple does to our phones. Whenever they update, the older models begin to suck. It actually is not true. So like those headlines that they gave out. So I'll give you the example that they gave out a few, and then I'll loop it back into this and let Curtis keep going, because this is what happens with tech. Tech is always
Yeah, I
changing.
want to hear about this because this is always a weird thing to me. I
So
want to hear why this happens.
they, the headlines all read, Apple is slowing your phones down. Technically, they weren't very transparent about it until asked about it because it didn't actually make a sizable difference to your experience. Now, software always updates. So if you have a Windows laptop and then you get the Windows 10 tomorrow and you get the Windows 10 anniversary update and then you get the new Windows 11 that's coming out, obviously that software is going to be less and less quick on that hardware. So that's not Windows making your hardware slower. It's your hardware is unable to keep up with what is now the norm as far as your user interface, your different things that are running and everything. Apple does something similar. What they did with the battery actually was good. Is that batteries have like a
Oh,
300,
Tesla did that
yeah.
too,
So
didn't they?
Tesla kind of, so this is how they will approach this, and I believe Tesla does the same thing. But this is just an easy real world example. So like every battery that in a new phone has between 300 and 500 charges before it begins to lose its ability to charge back to its full percentage. So what Apple did at a certain year of phone was they ramped down the clock speed of the processor so that it wouldn't affect most things that you did on your phone, but what it did was that it made up for that 15% loss in battery so that you were using less energy and your phone still stayed powered as long as it did before. When they were asked about it, they were very, very transparent about it. And then they came out with a switch so somebody could turn that off with the caveat your phone is going to die 15% sooner now. So they just weren't giving
Hmm.
you the option before. So they actually do more updates than any other phone for longer. I think they guarantee like 6 years of updates, so you get security updates. There are things I have plenty of complaints about Apple. That is not one of them, and it is one that I believe was complete garbage from the reporting that made people think that. So that's my take.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah,
want to,
and
I want to go.
there was something with Tesla did do something with their software where they limited charging capacity, or there was something where they had limited something through software, and then they
Hmm.
actually got sued for it because it affected range, and then they said actually we shouldn't have done that without telling you,
Yeah,
and
and things are
so
going to happen like that,
there is
but it's
some
not like it's not breaking it to get you to buy a new one. It's them trying to make their tech work better for longer
right.
in a lot of cases. So I do want to touch base on what my dad said because I think he maybe misunderstood something that I said a few minutes ago about the evoking the 25th Amendment. He said he disagrees. Biden's symptoms are way past time for congestive tests like those that Trump volunteered for, his early onset dementia is obvious and his decisions are suspect. I agree. Those decisions are now killing people at the gate of the airport in Kabul. The 25th Amendment should be invoked by the VP and a majority of the cabinet. His continued presence is shameful for his family, who knows better as well. I completely agree. I wasn't saying I don't think they should. I 100% think that they should. I don't think they will for the reasons that I gave. So that's where I was coming from. I'm not a big fan of either one of them, and I don't think that is like hidden in this podcast that I'm not. So
Yeah,
that's where I stand on that. I agree with you. I don't think it will for the reasons given, and I do think it's unwise, and that it would be better, even as much as I'm not a fan of Kamala Harris to be in there. I think it would be better than him.
I think Kamala would have the ability to make better, well thought decisions. Then I think the cognitive processing is difficult for Biden, especially
100%.
late at night.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the big announcement.
And by that you mean after 4 p.m.
Hey, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I get it, man. I get it. I don't know how you do it, but man, the older I get, the later at night I stay up. The more it wrecks me the next day.
I'd be perfect presidential material when it comes to like not needing to sleep. That
the sleep aspect.
Other things super questionable, but as far as that goes, I rank probably fairly high in the needs for the job.
Well, here's kind of the really cool thing that's going on in Tesla, though. The last thing, guys, the last big thing I want to hit on tonight is Tesla. So all those other things I mentioned, right? But that wasn't the big announcement. The big announcement is that this is kind of crazy. Elon Musk is planning on having production of humanoid robots coming out. He says within the next year, but it's probably going to be a couple years. But it's
triple
actually
motor, double motor, like
yeah, right. It's kind of crazy what this robot's going to be able to do, and basically it's going to be for eliminating like repetitive activities that humans have to do, or certain like dangerous activities, and using these he's going to call it. Right now they're calling it the Tesla bot. Man,
of course
it's getting crazy, right? The Tesla bot. But so they're gonna build it at 5'8".
What if it can self-drive your car before they can enable the self-driving in the car?
Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny. That'd be hilarious.
Mind
well, you
blown.
wouldn't need it. It'd be extra. But yeah, Amador, there's definitely a movie about this for sure. It actually looks kind of cool. I don't know if you can show them. There's a picture of it. That's Elon standing next to the model of it. But it's going to have quite a bit of versatility. It's going to weigh about 125 pounds, the robot itself.
Whoa, that's it?
Mm-hmm. It's going to have about 150, approximately 150 pounds that it can deadlift. The arms are going to be able to extend and lift out and kind of have like a 10-pound fulcrum extended lift weight.
Dude, I'm not sure 45, I like this.
45-pound capacity. For like just like carrying and walking. If they're not moving, they can lift stuff heavier. Moving walking speed, they're going to say it's estimated around 5 miles per hour of just standard walking, which actually, if you think about 5 miles per hour, is pretty fast for a robot.
That's a pretty good clip.
That's a pretty damn good clip.
Yeah.
But the pictures of this is bananas, guys. I mean, it looks really humanoid.
Well, there's the Cybertruck. I'm kind of freaked out by the looks of it. It looks like the ones that Will Smith almost got killed by.
Now, here's a thought. I don't know if it would ever be a good idea. And I don't know why you would need to, but I don't think it's ever a good idea to build a robot that can move faster than 5 miles per hour. Because, I mean, granted, unless it's like they're a lifeguard robot or something, they're going to catch somebody falling off a roof or I don't know, whatever. But in general, it's just a little scary. It's a little intense. So, yeah, get ready for that, guys. It's coming.
My dad, what's he say?
He's gonna...
I'm gonna buy 4 Tesla bots and name them after my children and have them do all the yard work and gardening for Deb. Then she can relax.
Love
She would know
it.
what to call them
Love
then.
it.
She'd call each one of them Giarden, because that's what I got called for a good decade of my life. That's what
What?
happens when your parents
Giarden?
name all the kids with J names.
That's true. That's true. Um, yes, Amador made a good point though, and I do agree. It would be cool to buy one. They can do your laundry, they can dust, they can vacuum, feed the dog. You can imagine the programming options that you could do for that robot. Like at
Yeah,
every 7
Roomba
a.m.
immediately doesn't look that cool anymore. Like Roomba
No,
was cool, like you could set a beer on it and you could make it look like it was wearing a beer helmet. This thing
guys,
can go up and down stairs and like
yeah.
use your actual vacuum. You don't need to buy a new
Think about
vacuum.
think about this, guys. This is insane. Like we really are at the precipice, I think, of a technological boom again. And like it might be standard practice. This sounds so funny. Like remember when Katie Couric and what was the guy's name? That was with him, another the
Will Arnett.
popular news guy. Maybe, I don't know. Some
No.
news guy. I don't know who that. But anyways, they were talking about
Regis Philbin.
what is the internet and what is
Hmm.
like
Oh yes.
AOL
What is
at? Is
that?
that an
What is
at
that?
sign? What's
What
that?
is that
What's that
at symbol?
A
The
with a
doesn't that?
circle around
Yeah.
it? I don't know. I think that's like that stands for something. But like this is us. We're in that place right now.
Oh
We're
yeah.
talking about these robots, these Tesla bots. It's going to be in 10 years standard practice. Like, oh, you got the Tesla bot
I do
1.0 in
think
your house?
I do think the
Hello.
big difference is like we're talking about it with already knowing like what the internet is and a bunch of other things, and we know kind of what some of those like robot things can do. So it's not like them. The internet wasn't an existing thing. Like they were coming into
Mm.
it not knowing what it was. Whereas we've had some technologies. We're like, well, a self-driving car is still just a car. Like we've had cars for quite some time.
It's not a different concept. The
And it's
internet was a
yeah,
totally
and so
different
we like
concept.
we've slowly had like cars that can kind of steer themselves. They can make sure you're not dumb and drive off the road. There's all these things that they can do that are similar. So it's not like this wild difference. If all of a sudden we had teleporters in our house, and that's a technology we don't have, and we're like zipping zapping all over the galaxy to see our friends, that's a much different thing for us to be talking about. Like you're like, what? It's like a microwave?
Shout out to Deb.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Matt Lauer. It was Matt Lauer. You're right. Nailed it.
I
Nailed
nailed
it.
it.
Strong
Will
word.
Arnett. That's who it was.
I don't even know who that is. I need to look up who Will Arnett. I'm not
He's
sure
an
who that is.
actor. You will. He's from the Lego
Oh.
Movie. He's
Oh
the.
no, he's from modern or what's it? The Family Show. Arrested Development. Yeah,
Yes.
he's Arrested Development, brother.
Mhm.
I love it. That's hilarious. That's funny.
Oh, good
Okay,
times, dude.
so we're at
So
an
robots
hour.
are gonna
That's
kill us. We're gonna send the robots over to figure out the problem for us
No, this is what's gonna
in
happen. China's gonna build
Afghanistan.
their robots. We're gonna build our robots. China and US are gonna have robot war. Hopefully not, but
There's been a movie about that too. Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. There's so much
Oh
more,
man.
guys. It's here's my hot take on things that have happened in the last 2 years. Let's just go 2 years. We could say 18 months, 2 years. People need to learn to zoom out a little bit and not look at just one event as that event. And that's just something I've realized recently. I give too many people too much credit, and it's not maybe their own fault. Maybe they have not been given the opportunity or the vision to do this. Is to look back and go, hang on, if I zoom out of this, what's really going on? And you kept it, and you maybe you don't have the answers, but you start to ask yourself questions like we have tonight. It's like, why is China being okay and recognizing the Taliban? Well, there's trillions of dollars in the ground. I have to ask myself, are they interested in the money? Are they interested
Yeah.
in the trade route that they want to fund, and maybe they want to have a presence there? You know, like what is it that all these countries that we quasi question or should be questioning more, why are they all of a sudden like willing to like step up and talk to them? And why are we willing to like kind of deal with the Taliban and say like, hey, could you just be nice and let our people out? Like
Hey,
what's changed? Like those are good
real
questions.
quick too.
Yeah.
Can you on my links, that little YouTube link, I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to show you and these guys real quick here this last little crazy video. This YouTube video. It is
I'm gonna mute it.
insane. Yeah, that's
Oh,
fine.
we've seen
You
this.
can Oh
We've
no,
played
this
this
is
on here.
this is the newest one. This is a new
Oh, you're
upgrade
right.
to what they can do. This is insane. So this is a video, guys, that I'm showing Jordan real quick. I wanted everybody to see if you can. Um, it is um, it's the latest Aero Atlas Boston Dynamics parkour of these robots and what they're doing. It's insane. Right now we're watching them run on vertical kind of wall platforms, running up and down stairs. They're
That's
jumping
impressive.
up and down over blocks onto like pillars. Multiple robots in the room at the same time running around. Kind of have a humanoid shape to them.
I like the light flashing on them, like if a plane was gonna run into them. What the
They're
heck? You
jumping.
can.
They're using their arms to pivot over objects.
What the? They backflip. No
Backflips,
way.
jump flip, yeah, front flips, backflips using parkour, one arm,
He
two arm.
brushed his
Yeah,
shoulders off.
yeah, he
What
brushed his shoulder.
in the
So I just need
world?
you guys to see that. Like, it's pretty insane. Pretty insane what they can do.
Wow.
Okay, so TILs. Should we hit them up?
Yes. Let's do it.
All right, I have
These robots are
two.
all connected to Afghanistan too, guys. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't know that. But I do believe people need to learn to just calm down and zoom out a little bit and start connecting some of these dots. That was my end of the show.
Polka dots.
Now we can talk about nice things.
Pivot.
How many TILs do you have?
Just two.
Okay, I'll go first. Today I learned the first American soldier to land on the beach during the invasion of Normandy was shot twice and not only survived but lived to be 90.
Whoa, fascinating. That dude was meant to live. That's amazing.
Yep.
Good for him. Today I learned that IKEA was actually founded by a teenager in 1943.
Wait,
Good
say
to
it
know.
again?
IKEA, the store, IKEA was actually founded by a teenager in 1943.
Totally makes sense. That's why those instructions are like cartoons.
Yeah.
Today I learned about Camp Siegfried, a Nazi summer camp on Long Island that kept a restrictive covenant preventing non-German people from living in the community until 2016.
Whoa. In 2016? That's wild. I'm shocked that Germany didn't prohibit that by that time.
Oh, that's us. That was here.
Oh, I thought it was in Germany. Camp Siegfried is a Nazi summer camp. No. Oh my God, that's terrible.
Right.
Shame, shame. Shame, shame, US. All right. Today I learned, okay, I love this fact. This is really fun. Do you guys remember the movie Interstellar, right? So today I learned that with the Interstellar movie, which aired in 2014, approximately 57 minutes and 4 seconds has transpired on Miller Planet since that movie first aired.
Yeah.
So 57 minutes has transpired on Miller's Planet, where
That's the
there's
one
that
where
time dilation.
1 hour is every 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or close to. Yeah.
Yeah. What's funny is I saw a meme today of that. So there was the two people in the movie standing out, and the lady looks at him and says, "This is every hour here is 7 years on Earth." And he goes, "Okay, cool. Can we hold Bitcoin here?"
That's amazing. I love that. All right, shower time.
Shower
I got
time.
4 shower.
I have more.
You got 5 shower? Okay,
If a
you go first.
cashier remembers you, you're either a great customer or a terrible customer. Everyone else is forgotten.
Yeah, very true. Kind of in a lot of jobs like that. Yeah. If Pokemon existed today, we would probably eat them.
It's true.
There'd probably be like, oh, I got some Charizard
We at
over in
least
my
have
fridge,
a Pikachu
dog.
omelet. Like that would be a
I don't
thing.
mind a little bit of a Squirtle. I don't mind a little Squirtle.
I think that would be a bad ad campaign, but
Yeah.
As a society, this is very fitting. We are trying to make robots behave like humans and humans behave like robots.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. True. Of the 3 main forms of matter, gas is the only one which we are comfortable releasing into our pants.
For some.
Everybody does. Everybody lets it out in
Dude,
their pants.
you know how
Doesn't
many
matter who
kids
you
are
are.
like delighted? They're like, "Here comes," and they just
Oh, yeah.
plant one.
Oh yeah.
It's just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and some kids won't go in the toilet. That they prefer their pants. I mean, to a
Yeah,
certain age, it's acceptable-ish, but you know what I'm getting at.
I'm
The
picking up.
reason that we don't know about more perfect crimes is because those crimes are perfect.
Very true. Yep. Yep. I'd like to have a Netflix documentary about the perfect crimes, though, that someday people past the statute of limitations would
They're like,
let us know.
BT Dubs selling the movie rights to this one. I've been a serial killer for 95 years.
Yes. Okay, so this one's just kind of interesting. I don't know. 93.4% of people who have ever lived have died. There's approximately 107 billion people who have ever lived, and there are only 7 billion who are still alive. So it's just interesting to think about how many people.
It's just going to perpetually get like more depressing. Like.
Right. Well, oh yeah, or significant on that end. Yeah. Kind of interesting.
Yeah,
Hit me.
It's the same idea as like how you get closer and closer to your parents' age as you age.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yep. That's true.
Yeah. Because for a while, babies like doubled their age every couple of weeks.
Yeah. Or yeah, it takes longer every so often to double your age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like time dilation. That's why a year doesn't seem that long to us, but to a kid, a day seems like a year.
Right.
Yeah. If someone is truly a good liar, everyone thinks they're a bad liar.
Love that. That's a good one.
It's a good one to keep in your back pocket. Like, who do I know that I think is a really bad liar?
Or who do you know that you think is really true, like, or honest,
right.
And maybe they're just a really good liar.
Everyone should just go home and question their friends right now.
Yeah. Okay, my last shower thought for y'all. You only have one. Oh, you only have to. This is great. You only have to mistype one letter to turn a dad joke into a bad joke.
It's true.
Love it.
That is definitely
a dad joke.
A dad joke, yeah.
And that's a dad joke.
Here's mine. I just spent since Thursday night until now, well, until this morning, hanging out with some friends. Curtis came over for like the evening.
Yeah,
and playing video games and disc golf and whatnot. It was a good little vacation. But this is true. Nobody needs a vacation more than a person just returning from one. Honestly, one of the most depressing times, getting back to the real life and responsibilities.
It's exhausting. A vacation is exhausting, especially if you have children involved.
It's true.
I can see a vacation being relaxing when you don't have children involved, right? Mm-hmm. And or if you don't have extraordinary distances to cover.
True.
But yes, children
here's my recommendation, everybody. And maybe some people already do this, and maybe they figured it out long before I did. Always, like, take into account one day after your vacation as the vacation.
Buffer. I always have a buffer day.
Yeah.
If I can.
Mm-hmm.
I try to have a buffer day. No matter what my vacation is, I try to be like, you know what? I got to have that one day after to decompress.
Right. Yep.
Totally.
So we're all about good advice here, guys.
That's right.
Maybe not when it comes to Afghanistan and vice presidents and whatnot, but we can talk about it, right?
We can talk about it. Well, guys, we appreciate you all, and
you've been delightful.
We are on this journey with you, this crazy journey of life, and trying to figure out the ins and the outs. And we love your comments. Please subscribe to us on Facebook so you can get little notifications when we're going live on YouTube. We're not live on YouTube, but you can subscribe to us and watch the videos on YouTube if you like. Facebook, I said that already.
And if you forget any of it, testingnormal.com has all the links you could imagine that you would ever need.
That's right.
To do
iTunes, if you guys can't listen to it live, you definitely feel free to log on iTunes and or Spotify.
And most of our listeners come from not watching us, which is weird. I mean, they're not weird.
I think
they're cool.
I get it though, because we do it at random days. We do it at random days and random times.
But we're random people, so.
That's right. Love it. Yep. All right, guys. Have a great week. We will talk to you soon. Take care.
Yep. And
see you later.
Peace
Alligator.
out.